Hello children and welcome again. Today we are going to start with Unit 1.3, A Pilgrim, which is a poem. The name of the poet is not known, which is also called as anonymous. So children, through this poem, you will learn some moral values like generosity, perseverance, hard work, confidence, and the message that the poet wants to give to all of us is that one needs to work for the future and for the betterment of those around us. This poem highlights the importance of selflessness and unconditional giving. The poet advises us to be generous. So, children, now let us first read the poem together. The Pilgrim. A pilgrim going a lone highway came at evening cold and grey to a chasm deep and vast and wide. The old man crossed in the twilight dim. The chasm held no fear for him, but he paused when he reached the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. "Old man," said a fellow pilgrim near, "why waste your time in building here? Your journey ends with the close of the day. You never again will pass this way. You have crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build ye here at eventide?" The pilgrim raised his old grey head. "My friend, in the path I have come," he said, "there followed after me today a fair-haired youth who must pass this way. The chasm which held no fears for me, to the fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. My friend, I am building this bridge for him." By Anonymous. Now let's understand the poem stanza wise. So children, I'll read the first stanza. A pilgrim going a lone highway came at evening cold and grey to a chasm deep and vast and wide. The old man crossed in the twilight dim. The chasm held no fear for him, but he paused when he reached the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. So children, I'll start with the explanation. So here, in this poem, there is an old man who is going on a pilgrimage. So now, who is a pilgrim? A pilgrim is a person who journeys to a sacred place for religious reasons. He was walking on an empty highway. As he was walking, it was evening and it was cold and grey, which means it was very freezing and dull. Now, as he was walking, he reached near a chasm. Now, children, what is a chasm? It is a deep and narrow opening in a rock. This chasm was very deep and wide, because of which he couldn't walk further. But he didn't stop. He anyhow walked through the chasm with full confidence. He crossed the chasm at twilight. Now children, what is a twilight? It is the period just before it becomes completely dark in the evening. So children, the old man did not get scared of the chasm. Now, after crossing the chasm, he waited at the other side and built a bridge. Now children, why did he build a bridge? To span the tide, which means going across the tide. So children, he built the bridge so that other pilgrims can cross the chasm easily during the high tides. Now children, let's read the second stanza. "Old man," said a fellow pilgrim near, "why waste your time in building here? Your journey ends with the close of the day. You never again will pass this way. You have crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build ye here at eventide?" So I'll start with the explanation. Now, along with the old man, there was another fellow pilgrim traveling with him. Fellow means another person who is traveling along. So, this fellow pilgrim asked this old man that why was he building this bridge and wasting his time even after he had crossed the chasm. He further said that the old man's journey ends from here and he would never pass this way again. Then why would he build this bridge? At eventide. Here, eventide means late in the evening. The word ye, Y-E, ye, in the last line is an archaic word which means an old English for you, Y-O-U, you. Okay, children, now let's read the third stanza. The pilgrim raised his old grey head. "My friend, in the path I've come," he said. "There followed after me today a fair-haired youth who must pass this way. The chasm which held no fears for me, to the fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. He, too, must cross in the twilight dim. My friend, I am building this bridge for him." So children, I'll start with the explanation. Now, let us see what answer the old man gave. The old pilgrim raised his old grey head. That means he looked towards the fellow pilgrim, and grey head means the old man had white hair as he was aging, and he called the fellow pilgrim his friend and told him that on the long way that he had walked, there is a fair-haired youth who will walk the same road after the old man had walked. The word followed is an old English which means to follow, and fair-haired youth means a young person with light-colored hair. So, the old man is saying that there will be many more people, young people, who will have not want to walk through this chasm or may be scared to cross this chasm. The old man further says that he did not get scared of the chasm. He crossed the chasm without fear. But the young people who would want to pass through this chasm will find it difficult because the young generation is not experienced as the old man was. Here, pitfall means a trap. That this chasm can be a trap for the young man because he too will cross through this chasm during twilight. That is when it will be dark and dull. So that is why the old man built this bridge for the young man. So children, wasn't the poem very interesting? As I told you in the beginning, the poem has taught us the quality of being selfless, where The old pilgrim built a bridge even when he did not need it in the future. He built it for others. So here we conclude with the poem's explanation. Now let's have some revision. The first question is, in the poem, what are the words used to describe the chasm? The words used to describe the chasm are vast, deep, and wide. Second question, what puzzled the fellow pilgrim? The fellow pilgrim was puzzled because the old man had crossed the chasm and then built the bridge, which was of no use to him. Third question, who could be the third pilgrim? The third pilgrim could be a fair-haired youth. So here we conclude with our today's session. I hope you understood the poem. Take care, children.